Good morning. My name is Abigail Marquez, and I have the honor of serving as the General Manager of the Community Investment for Families Department. As we all know, or I hope we do know, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And while I am grateful to be here alongside city leaders, survivors, and advocates, I truly wish we didn't have to gather for this reason. But here we are, reaffirming our commitment to support survivors and to continue to advocate for programs and resources aimed at preventing violence in our communities. And although this month is recognized as Domestic Violence Awareness Month, this work is more than a campaign. It's a shared commitment to address the complex and often heartbreaking realities faced by survivors and their families. I want to thank Councilmembers Katy Yaroslavsky and Councilmember Eunisses Hernandez for joining us this morning. And we're also joined by our LAUSD board member, Tanya Ortiz Franklin, and our incredible survivor advocates who are standing behind us. Let's give them a round of applause as well. Especially our Domestic Violence Alliance, who continue to educate us on the unique needs of survivors. Survivors make up 41% of our city's unhoused population, and 1 in 3 women will experience intimate partner violence in their lifetime. Just look around. If we just include 10 women standing here today, that means at least 3 of us are likely to have been directly impacted. These aren't just statistics. They reflect the lived reality of too many in our communities. And despite what some may say, and I hope you know who I'm referring to, domestic violence is not a private matter. It is a crime. It is a public crisis, and it undermines the safety, stability, and the dignity of our entire city. I'm proud, though, that here in Los Angeles, we are working hard to decrease the number of survivors who become homeless because they don't have a safe place to escape to. Over the past decade, the city's investment in services for survivors has grown from $2 million to $18 million, an increase of 800%. This funding now supports a comprehensive network of services for all survivors of gender-based violence, including domestic and intimate partner violence, sexual violence, and human trafficking. This growth represents more than just a financial investment. It's a moral one. It reflects our belief that the survivor's safety and dignity is not optional, but essential to a just and thriving Los Angeles. And the increased investment for our department also allowed us to create a full continuum of services to support survivors on their journey, from crisis to stability and resilience, from emergency placement in crisis to shelter and emergency shelter programs, to facilitating independent living through transitional shelter, to stabilizing the safe and permanent housing through rental and utility assistance, job placement through our Survivors First program. We're so proud when we launched our Survivors First program, which was one of the first housing first programs dedicated for survivors. And we know that it works. Prevention works. It has over 90% success rate at keeping people housed. And this has allowed us to expand. The investment has allowed us to expand our network of community-based partners. When we started doing this work, we were only partnering with under 10 organizations citywide. We're now at 16 organizations that partner with the city of Los Angeles. Last year, or this year, in the current fiscal year, we added 2 additional shelter-based programs and increased the number of shelter beds that the city funds by 30%. We went from 567 beds to 751 beds. And although I want to lift up this incredible investment, it's a step in the right direction, it's still far from meeting the needs of survivors. When we did the last round of analysis, we learned that we turned away over 9,000 survivors who were seeking shelters, who we were unable to house. But again, we're here to lift up the work that we are doing. And I do want to take this opportunity again to thank the leadership of our mayor and our entire city council, who prioritize investing in the support of services for survivors But I especially want to thank our two courageous council members who I acknowledged when we kicked off, our council members who are here, Councilmember Katy Yaroslavsky and Councilmember Hernandez. As chair of the Budget and Finance Committee, Councilmember Yaroslavsky was instrumental in directing that funds be identified to expand shelter-based and wraparound services for survivors. Her leadership, yes, she deserves a round of applause. Her leadership has been critical in ensuring that our city continues to grow its investment in survivor safety and support. One of the first interactions that I had with Councilmember Yaroslavsky was a visit at one of the DV shelters in her district, and I knew that from that first interaction that she was absolutely committed to increasing resources and support for survivors. And I also want to again thank Councilmember Hernandez for her strong support, also as a member of the Budget and Finance Committee, and also for recognizing that domestic violence is both a public safety and a public health crisis. And despite our challenging budget crisis, our own budget crisis in the city, they stood firm in believing survivors and uplifting the frontline service providers who serve them with compassion and commitment. And I want to take a moment to also recognize the CIFD staff who's here. I am very biased, but we have an incredible, I would say the most incredible, hardworking team. And again, the service providers who are standing behind us today, it is because of their advocacy that we have been successful in increasing the resources for survivors of domestic violence. And I just want to leave you with one last thought or statement, and that is that our progress as a city is best understood in the context of why this work matters most. Behind every program and policy and partnership are the lives of survivors, individuals and families whose safety and future depends on the strength of our collective response. So again, thank you all for joining us today, for the work that you do, not just this month, but throughout the entire year, and for the commitment that you have given to this field as advocates for many, many years. So it is now my pleasure and honor to introduce Councilmember Katy Yaroslavsky.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Abby, for that warm introduction. I want to start by thanking the advocates, the service providers, and survivors who've joined us today to mark the City of LA's recognition of Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Last year, LAPD received nearly 43,000 DV-related calls and responded to 15,000 DV-related crimes. And tragically, 13% of all homicide victims in LA County lost their lives because of domestic violence. DV also continues to fuel our local homelessness crisis. Per the 2025 homelessness count, as Abby just discussed and mentioned, 41% of all unhoused Angelenos have experienced DV. And the number of unhoused survivors in LA have increased at nearly double the rate of the general population since 2000. Meanwhile, the federal government has tried, but so far has been stymied in court, to cut off vital service funding. The current shutdown has also furloughed staff in the Office of Violence Against Women and rental assistance, along with other vital programs utilized by survivors, such as CalFresh and CalWorks. They're going to run out of money by November 1st. That's 2 weeks from now. Even in the face of these circumstances, the city has chosen to make historic and unprecedented investments in supporting DV survivors and their families. In 2024, as Abigail mentioned, we secured the single largest increase in survivor services in the city's history, adding 187 new DV shelter beds to our system. This year, in the face of a $1 billion budget deficit, the council's budget committee, which I work alongside Councilwoman Hernandez and 3 other colleagues to shepherd, we fought and were successful in preserving this funding. Survivors deserve protection and support through every single part of their journey. That's why we created the DV Restraining Order Emergency Task Force, which is a partnership between all relevant city agencies and which recently secured a $1 million grant to scale its work. This DV Awareness Month is a moment for us to reflect on the progress we've made. Yes, we've made progress, but more so to reaffirm our commitment to building a city, a country, and a planet that uplifts the safety and the humanity of all of us, even in the face of an administration hell-bent on taking us backward. I'm really honored to be standing alongside all of you today. It's really an honor and a privilege to be here. And I'd next like to welcome my friend and my colleague and warrior in this work, Councilwoman Eunisses Hernandez.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Yes, how y'all doing today? Oh my gosh, you all look so wonderful. Thank you for letting us join you. And thank you, Councilwoman Yaroslavsky, for your leadership. Years of leadership on this issue. Not just talking about it, but getting things across the finish line and making historic investments. But that's what happens when you put people like you in these positions. So thank you. Thank you. And thank you to all the folks who are brave to be here and talk about your stories, but also to do the work day in and day out to serve people, right? Because that's heavy. That is heavy to hear all the things that are happening and to still push through. You love people, and that is critical and that is important, and I'm thankful for that. So thank you for your love for the community and for people. My name is Eunisses Hernandez, and I'm the councilwoman representing the 1st District. It is an honor to be here with you today, recognizing Domestic Violence Awareness Month. I'm a survivor of violence, and many of us here are survivors, and there are a lot of survivors in this space. And if you've ever heard about loss, it's in these stories. But it also, when you hear about courage, it's in these stories. To choose life again, even when the world has made it nearly impossible to fight, a lot of these folks have survived so much. And that's why what we're talking about today and the programs are so important to uplift in this moment, because everywhere else they're trying to be torn down. But here, when we're on the ground, when we know what's going on, we know why it's so important to invest, and we're making unprecedented investments in a time of short resources. And what's going on is an ongoing struggle, and what's happening with the federal government hasn't made it easy. People have been afraid to call law enforcement in the past. And now there's even more fear, which means that there are probably people who are experiencing domestic violence right now that are too scared to call for help. That's why it's more important now than ever to invest in the pathways and the landing spaces for people to be able to escape the situations that they're in when perhaps they feel like there's no help available. People are trying to call for help, and you don't know, and they don't know if it's going to be LAPD or if it's going to be the federal government. Those are the things that people are determining whether they're going to call for help or not. That's why, again, we need to make more of these landing spaces available and let community know that there's a space for you here. I grew up in a working class immigrant family. I've seen what it looks like when violence and poverty live under the same roof. And I've also seen what happens when someone steps in with care instead of punishment. That's what we need more of in this city, policies rooted in care, because domestic violence doesn't happen in a vacuum. It happens in the same conditions that keep people poor and scared. It's connected to how we fund housing, how we treat immigrants, and how we value women's work, and how we talk about safety. That's why programs like Survivors First matter. They take politics out of survival and put back the focus on care, helping survivors of domestic violence and human trafficking find safe housing, steady income, and support. This isn't charity, it's infrastructure for healing. And in this year's budget, we saw that investment. Under Councilwoman Yaroslavsky's leadership, we fought to expand the program to for more beds, for more providers, including St. Anne's Family Services in my district, who work with gang-impacted youth, teen moms, and young women who have been in and out of the system, various systems, right? The carceral system, the foster care system. There's many layers to this. These are young people who've lived through violence, through poverty, through neglect, and they're still standing, surviving. And when we invest in them, we're investing in our city's future. I say this all the time. Care is work. And in a time when cruelty is being used as a political weapon by the federal administration, when immigrants are hunted, when survivors are shamed, when women's rights are rolled back, choosing care and choosing love for our people is an act of resistance. Since its launch, Survivors First has helped more than 3,000 Angelenos rebuild their lives. And that's not even counting the reverberations that it has on their families. There's 3,000 people, but what about their kids? What about their cousins and neighbors? This impacts all of our communities. That's 3,000 people who got a key instead of a shelter bed. That's 3,000 people who no longer had to choose between safety and homelessness. We have a long way to go, but I believe in what we're building and what we're building together. A city where people are safe, not because they hide, but because we show up for one another, where care comes first every time. And now it is my honor to introduce LAUSD School Board member Tanya Ortiz Franklin to share some words with us, who's also been a leader in this work for many years. Thank you.
Thank you and good morning, everyone. I'm Tanya Ortiz Franklin, representing Los Angeles Unified's Board District 7. And I just want to say thank you to everyone here, to our council members, and to our community for leading this Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Los Angeles Unified stands with you. We just passed a resolution ourselves 3 days ago because we know this is an issue for our city. Tens of thousands of LAUSD employees, hundreds of thousands of LAUSD students and families are impacted by domestic violence every day. So we are committed to teaching our students about healthy relationships, to providing safety and resources to our employees, and to making sure that people know there is help, there is support. So I want to thank my fellow survivors for standing up. I want to thank my fellow city leaders for standing up, and I want to thank you all for standing up and being with survivors always. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember and LAUSD. Good morning, council members, city partners, and community advocates. Happy Domestic Violence Awareness Month. My name is Deshelle Kendrick, and I have the privilege of serving as the City of Los Angeles Domestic Violence Alliance Chair and Director of Survivor Empowerment Services at the YWCA Greater Los Angeles. Thank you. On behalf of our alliance and all the providers represented here today, I want to thank the LA City Council, Mayor Bass, and the Community Investment for Families Department for your steadfast support to survivors and for continuing to prioritize domestic violence as a critical public health and safety issue. Your ongoing investment in prevention, intervention, and housing services is a lifeline for thousands of survivors and families rebuilding their lives every year. We are deeply grateful for your partnership and leadership. As a thriving survivor myself, and as someone who has walked alongside many resilient survivors on their journey towards safety and healing, I can say with certainty that the most meaningful progress happens when survivor voices are not only heard, but truly valued. Survivor leadership matters. It ensures that our systems and policies reflect the lived realities of those most impacted. That decisions are guided not just by data, but by humanity. When city departments, advocates, and community organizations work together to listen and co-create solutions, we strengthen the entire ecosystem of support. That's what the Domestic Violence Alliance stands for: collaboration, coordination, and collective impact. The Alliance brings over 40 organizations and stakeholders across Los Angeles, representing city departments, council-appointed representatives, shelters, housing programs, public safety, faith-based programs, legal services, and prevention initiatives, all united in the mission to eliminate and prevent gender-based violence in the city of Los Angeles. We meet every second Monday of the month right here at City Hall, and we would love to invite you invite your partnership and expertise to the table. Please connect with either myself or a CIFD representative to learn more about how to get involved. In this current climate, when so many families continue to face the ripple effects of violence, housing instability, and economic hardship, our unity matters more than ever. Let's continue to lead with compassion, courage, and collaboration, keeping survivors' voices at the center of every decision that we make. Together, we can ensure that Los Angeles remains a city where safety, dignity, and healing are not only privileges, but rights for all. Thank you for your continued partnership and for standing with survivors, not only during Domestic Violence Awareness Month, but every day of the year. Thank you.